Hey, scribes, welcome. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. We're live. We're talking about writing, and today's topic is a topic that's kind of close to my heart because I've had to do this a few times in my career. So today we're going to be talking about how do you know, or is it time to break up with your story? So I'm going to give you a few tips. And for all the newbies who are joining us, when I look down, that means I'm looking at my script because I do not want to forget anything that I have written down for you. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about 4 ways that you absolutely know that it's time to break up with your story. And obviously there are more ways, but these are kind of like my favorite 4. And I'm sure that you will find one of them relates to you and your story and what you're doing. Hey, Ashley. Hey, Ashley. You know I'm so proud of you. That countdown to graduation, girl, is coming. And I want to get all the details. So welcome. So before I get into it today for all the newbies, hey, Jean, before I get into it today for all the newbies, I am Taiia Smart Young. I am the one who encourages writers, newbies, to create influence, impact, and income with their work. And so just so you know that boyfriends, girlfriends, significant others, side pieces, side chicks, those are not the only people you can break up with. You can absolutely break up with your story. And I've had to do this before. And the good thing about breaking up with your story is that they're not going to be mad at you. They're not going to half your check. They are not going to come after you. Those stories, those characters, that essay, that blog, it's going to sit there for all eternity if you decide to do nothing with it. Okay? And guess what? It can't cheat on you. So that's a big one. So if you are live and you are watching me, please give me some love. Hit those hearts, you guys. Hey, Ashley. Ashley has officially graduated, you guys. So I am super proud of Ashley. She's been one of our scribes. She's been rocking with me for a minute now, doing the challenges. And so congratulations to you, Ashley. We are definitely going to continue shouting you out. And anyone who's having some great things going on, just please let me know so we can, shout you out. Jean says breakups are hard to do. Yes, Jean, but breaking up with your story, as I will show you today, is not that difficult. And I'm going to give you, I'm going to let you know how to do it. Okay, phone, act right. And if you're watching on the replay, please show me some love. Drop your questions here because I do go back and answer them later. Better yet, if you have a friend, a bestie, a homie, someone that cannot break up with their story, like they are committed, they want to do this Alex Haley root story and they are not equipped to do so, share this video on your timeline and then tag them so that he or she knows, like, listen, there's no shame in breaking up with the story and moving on, okay? Pretend like it's a bus. Next 15 minutes, there'll be another story coming. There'll be another idea, I promise you. Okay, so I got this idea. Let me see what you guys are talking about. Ashley says now she can have some fun writing. Yes, Ashley, I am so glad that you are back in business with us. So I got to organizing my bookshelf and I'm downsizing. I'm really trying to get rid of things, but I can't throw away books. So what I do is I donate them. And then I also have, alongside my books, I have a bunch of notebooks. So as I was going through my notebooks, like I can't throw away my ideas. I started looking through them. And so on the pages of these notebooks, I found short story ideas that I absolutely loved and was like, oh man, I need to get back to this. And then I found some stuff that I hated. Like because I love to write young adult fiction and middle grade stuff too, a little bit, not as much as young adult. I have some ideas that just might not go anywhere because the idea is not fully fleshed out, or I haven't really thought about who the characters are. And maybe like the moment has passed, and I'll talk a little bit about that there. So some of these ideas, it's like a relationship. You know how you have like that summer fling, that summer romance, that summer of 89 where you met that guy at the rap concert and he was doing it for you back then. But then it was like, summer was over and you had to go back to school and he was not going to be the one. I had a lot of those ideas in my book. And it's like, oh, wow. In my notebooks, I just was like, just flipping through them, having the memories. And then I realized that the memories are sweet and they're there for a reason. And there's a reason why I didn't finish them, because they weren't going anywhere. So as I started to think about this, I was like, wait a minute, this is a tip for my scribes, because I've had to do this before with the book idea. I had to actually scrap it, break up with the idea. The proposal went to my agent. I had a co-writer. We were working hard on something, and then it just didn't go anywhere. So it was time to break up with that idea. So sign number 1, if it is time to break up with your story, I'm going to curse. So if there are kids around, earmuffs for the kids. Sign number 1, if you are bored as fuck with your idea, right? So after you've had your coffee for the morning or your tequila, however you power up, when you go and you click on your laptop and you go to the story and you are just not excited, not enthused at all about what's sitting in front of you, whether it's the blank page where you need to continue the chapter, or it's the sentence and you need to continue this blog post, this essay, whatever it is, and you're just not enthusiastic about it, it may be a sign that it's time to break up. Because here's the thing, you aren't always going to be excited about what you write, right? But if you're bored with the idea, then maybe it's time to move on, because you don't have the energy, the enthusiasm, the bandwidth to continue this idea. Maybe you're not the right person for this particular idea. And you need to keep that same level of energy when you approach a piece of writing. So whether you're writing a 1,000-word essay for New York Magazine or New York.com, you have to keep that same level of enthusiasm, because the reader is going to be able to tell that you lost interest. So you start on this great high, and in the middle you kind of peter out, and the end is like, why did you even bother? Why are you phoning it in? So if you get bored with your idea, that's definitely a sign. When you are passionate about your idea, right, you can lose track of time. There's things that I know that I love to research and I love to look up, and I get lost in words and I get lost in scenery and I get lost in thinking about how to name my character and what is she gonna do, or I get lost in a personal essay that I'm writing and I want to get the details right, and so I need to check in with the family member and see if they remembered it the same way that I remembered it, or just have them add that particular color to the story from what their memory was, and I want to use some of that. That's passion, that's enthusiasm, that's excitement. That's me wanting to carry the story to the end and wanting to see it to the end. If you're bored, you're not going to want to see it to the end, right? And guess what? If you are excited about something, say there's an idea that you're working on, I don't know. Let's say you're working on a story about a nonprofit that serves children of color, right? You're working on this story and you're excited about it. You can't get it out of your head because there's new leadership, and you know that they're going to serve 20,000 kids this year as opposed to last year when they only served 10. You're going to take the napkin out at the restaurant. You're going to be writing notes on the napkin. You're going to be in the shower, and ideas are going to come to you, how you're going to start the story, how you're going to end, what questions you're going to ask this new leadership. Those are the things that happen to you when you're excited. You even I will start talking into my phone. I love my voice app. I will make a note and make a message in my voice app so that I don't lose my idea. So let me just see what you guys are talking about over here. Has anyone been bored with their idea before? Jean says, I like this angle. And yes, I did use a cuss word. Hey, son, you are never late. Hey, Chris. So has anyone been bored with their idea before and just realized that it's not going to happen, and you struggled and you're trying to make it happen, but you don't need to? Just let me know in the comments if you have. So sign number 2. And this is a close cousin. You know I love a close cousin. A close cousin to sign number 1. If you are avoiding the work, and when I say you are work, I mean you're avoiding the story, whatever it is. It's the chapter, it's the blog post, it's the script, it is, what else could it be? Let's see. It's your poem. You're avoiding the work. So we're relating it to relationships, right? So you met this cutie on Tinder, was looking like a right swipe, just looking delicious, and you said, you know what? I am going to write the best book ever about do-it-yourself coffins. Now, maybe you said this idea about do-it-yourself coffins came to you during happy hour. 4 shots in, 5 shots in, couple cocktails, margaritas, whatever, Hennessy, whatever you've been drinking, it has now consumed you, and you're saying, you know what? This idea looks like a right swipe on Tinder. It is the bomb. No. Do-it-yourself coffins, I don't know where you're going with this idea, right? But when you're sober, this idea does not sound like the best idea ever, but you've now committed yourself to it. You told your bestie, you told some friends, you did a Facebook post, and you know how people on Facebook do, they will co-sign your garbage. They will co-sign your madness until you get those few friends who are like, wait, what the hell are you talking about? Why would anyone be interested in do-it-yourself coffins? So the wizard that you are, you're like, I got to see this through. I've already told everybody. I can't back away from the idea. But as you start to sit down and write it, you're like, this idea is not appealing. So you don't want to turn on the computer to write it. You're not thinking about it in the shower. You're not scribbling notes on a napkin in a restaurant when you should be paying attention to, you know, whoever's birthday it is or whatever special occasion you're in the restaurant for. You're not doing those things. You are bored with the idea because you're like, it doesn't make sense. That happy hour idea sounded great at that point. At happy hour, when you had the tequila running through your veins, it doesn't sound so great now. No shame in saying, you know what, friends, that Facebook post, I'm just going to delete it because that made no damn sense. The idea for do-it-yourself coffins, I don't even know how you figure it out. You're not even thinking about step 1. Okay, measure coffins. Step 2, like who cares, right? But side note, the do-it-yourself coffins book is actually on Amazon.com. I did check. But if you are deciding that I can't move forward with this idea, we in this group, and myself included, we're going to support you and going to say, just go ahead, pretend like that never happened. So we're going to move on from being avoiding the work, right? Sometimes bad ideas happen and we just got to move past it. So sign number 3, this is one of my favorites. You are doing the most with this idea. We've been here before, right? So let's say you're writing an edgy young adult novel and you have so much to say about this character, Shantae, who's growing up with some alcoholic, abusive parents, but then you want to add in elements of Star Wars and Cinderella. Where are you going with this? You start crafting the story and you're trying to string these elements together. So you have like the parents over here, then you have the lightsaber and the glass slipper, and then you realize all of these elements together are not working. You're doing too much. But you avoid good sense, right? Your friend has told you, son has told you this doesn't make any sense. Chris has said this is crazy. Jean has said, what the hell are you talking about? I don't get it. But you're avoiding the good sense. You're avoiding what they're saying. And you spend 3 months trying to fix this story. You're trying to cram this glass slipper that's now shaped like a bottle of wine onto your character Shantae's foot, and it's not working. You know why it's not working? It doesn't fit. It doesn't belong in the story. And it's never going to belong in the story. What you have to do now is hone your idea down to something that is solid and concrete. And you don't need Star Wars inspiration and you don't need Cinderella inspiration. You need to focus on Shantae and her alcoholic, abusive parents if you're going to make this story work. So number 3 is when you are absolutely doing the most. You have way too much in it. So Yoda does not belong in that story. Neither does a carriage ride, setting them off at midnight, nothing. Okay? Now, tell me if you disagree. Let me see some folk over here, what you guys are talking about. Ashley says, yes, I've been bored plenty of times and I usually stop in the middle of the story because of this. If you've been bored to the point where you can't move forward, then yes, sometimes you do need to just walk away from the story. However, there are also times when you need to take a break from a story. A break, remember like Ross and Rachel on Friends, we won't want to break. You need to take a break from a story. And writers do that all the time. They take a break from scripts just because you need to clear your head and kind of like, you know, when you're eating sushi and you take, after you eat a piece of sushi and then you eat a piece of ginger, it like cleanses your palate. So taking a break can cleanse your palate and help you come back to the story. And ideally, when you're taking a break, things become a lot more clear for you. If they're still not clear, then you're right, Ashley. It may just be time to move on. Christopher says, I definitely have unfinished short stories. Yes, we all do, right? Let me tell you, when I was cleaning up my book, the notebooks had a couple napkins stuffed in there because I actually wrote a full-on short story on a napkin, and it was going to be published. I later typed it up, fixed the story up. It was going to be published, and you know what happened? The magazine folded. It was a teen magazine. This was a long time ago that I wrote this story. Let's see. Son says, I have a short script that I put down for 12 years. I didn't realize it was that long. I recently decided to get a reviewer to send me some notes, and I'm suddenly in love with it again. Oh my God. Don't you love when that happens? When you realize that there's such a good idea and you're like, maybe it wasn't that time for you at that moment. Maybe you weren't ready to write that particular script or whatever it is. And then you come back to it and you're like, this idea is still good. It's still solid. I'm still digging it. Let's see. Oh, number 4, since we're talking about specifically what Sun said, that she started something 12 years ago. So I know this is not the case for Sun because she said that she still loves the idea. So sign number 4, I didn't want you guys to think that I forgot about the 4th sign. And this is a big one. The moment has passed. Now, take a minute. Drink that in. The moment has passed. Okay, so remember when Stephanie Meyer came out with Twilight back in 2005. So vampires were hot in the young adult book industry. Everybody wanted a book about vampires after Stephanie Meyer struck lightning in a bottle with the Twilight series. But here it is, fast forward, it's 2019, and you just finished writing your book about vampires. So it took you 14 years to write this book about vampires, and you're super proud of yourself. And you're sending it out, and it could be a really good story about vampires. However, if the industry has moved on and no one is biting, vampires could be like the bell bottoms of the writing industry, right? It just could be that it's not in vogue. It's not in fashion at the moment. It could be that everybody now is buzzing about goblins. They're buzzing about fairies, wizards, half-blood princes, whatever it is. So things tend to go in waves, and there are certain themes that the industry gloms onto. And at one time it was vampires, and it could come back again that vampires are super hot, but there's so much going on that even though your story may be really good, vampires might not be hot right now, and no one's checking for it. They're looking for the story about the multicultural teen. There's just so much going on in the industry right now that if they're not checking for it, they're not checking for it. So in this case, it pays to just acknowledge that, this book took forever to write, and to get cracking on something else and to move faster. And really, I think that people shouldn't necessarily get caught up in the themes of the moment, right? So the movie industry will get a girls trip, and then we'll have 4 other girls trip movies or something like that. Or we'll have, what also happens? Let's see. It could be like some kind of romantic comedy. And then the industry wants 12 more of those romantic comedies. And what happens is that they're never as good as that first one that was, the sensation, the #1 at the box office or whatever it is. I think that you should just focus on writing a good story, because I think sometimes when you get caught up in what the industry is looking for, you can lose your focus. And then think, if you're publishing